As we go into this week of Thanksgiving here in the United States, I am so excited about this episode because right after Thanksgiving, which has all of the significance about how grateful we are, and there's just gratitude, there's this buying frenzy that has become a tradition in the United States. And I see it has populated to other areas. And I'm so encouraged because today I just found out about a backlash to that, which is called Buy Nothing Day. And our episode this week, I'm excited about Buy Nothing Day. And I'm also even more excited about getting people to really think about what does it mean to shop with intention. And today's guest talks about that. She has started, her name is Erin Attere, and she is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to have you hear the episode because we talk about what does it mean to have our money, to really think about our money from the perspective of what is our money voting for? What are we putting it towards? What are we saying with it?
Yeah, and we're so trained that, our money or is related to our value and our worth. And what if we could flip the script on that? What if it wasn't about, I said this the other day, I said, we're going to be doing the 12 days of Christmas coming up and the great uplift, and it's about presence. And I'm not talking about the ENTS presence. I'm talking about being present
Wow.
to in your heart. And I'm like, what if that was truly the gifting and the instead of consumer, like that's really what we mean about being citizens, to show up in our hearts for each other and offer our presence, ENCE. And I just love talking to Erin because her whole value of why she went away from the corporate and how she delved deeply into her reason for taking on threads. And I was so moved by it. This one is a definite, not only listen once, twice, but definitely share.
Yeah. It's one of those where it's a win-win-win. It warms your heart. It'll get you thinking. And please do share because the more people we have who are becoming more conscious about how they spend their money and what their money is actually representing, wow, we can change the world. And it is not just that we can, it's our responsibility to do so. So without further ado, enjoy today's podcast. In a world where achievements and accolades motivate us to do more and be more, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there is more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old, push your way through, and claim the deeper life that's calling you.
That's where we excel.
We're your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren,
and this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Sit back and relax as we share the shortcuts we've uncovered to help you make shift happen. Welcome back to the Soulful Leader Podcast. I'm here today with Stephanie and with a very special guest, Erin Attere, and you will find that she is amazing. I met her recently and we connected super quickly. And given that it's this week of Thanksgiving here in the United States, it just was perfect timing for a conversation around intentional shopping. And so when Erin and I connected, there was this, oh my gosh, we have to talk. So welcome, Erin. We are so excited to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you, Maren. What a gift to be here. I completely agree that we absolutely connected, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation today.
Yes, it's so great to have someone like yourself. And I was just perusing over your websites with threads worldwide, and wow, am I ever excited to hear about, your reason that you got into this and what inspired you, because I'm pumped. So thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Yes, these are no penny purchases, girls. These are beautiful handmade fair trade items.
So why don't you tell our audience, let's jump right into that and let us know, what is Threads Worldwide and how did you get involved in it? What does it mean to you?
Absolutely. So Threads Worldwide is a company that really empowers women. We create life-changing work through the sale of fair trade, handmade jewelry, bags, and now we recently extended into home goods as well. And when I say life-changing work, ladies, I mean women are able to lead the sex trade. Mamas don't have to choose which kiddo eats for the day. Children can go to school. We're redefining the role of a woman or a girl in a society so that they can actually have value and become the best version of themselves. And so this company has such a huge global impact for our partners in 8 different countries around the world. But also our vision is to empower women locally. So women like me are able to leave jobs in corporate America that no longer fill their cups to be able to wake up inspired and have meaning and stop missing their kids' birthdays because of business travel or not being present with their families, so they can work flexibly in a way that allows them to earn an income and really be part of something that they're proud of. And so
I'm going to stop you there because I
yeah,
think a lot of
I have
our
questions.
listeners, I think a lot of our
Wow.
listeners will really resonate with what you were just talking about. Of yes, we love that we can impact, countries that have, less than we do. That's so powerful, and sometimes it's a little closer to home. Of like, yeah, and I'm not fulfilled. I'm in a 9 to 5 grind job that I do just to pay the bills, and it doesn't fill my soul. And that's what I really heard that I connected to. Of you found something for yourself that fills your soul, and you're helping other women to do the same thing by empowering women in third world countries that, it's like they can't even feed their children. So I just, like, all the interconnections make me so happy.
And in today's world, we're so focused on the outer. I want to make this because, what Maren and I are really intending to do is to make that internal awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs match the outer, like that it's not one in sacrifice of the other. And so when you say about, empowering women to have value and choice and freedom, it's like we need to cultivate that from within, and that we can also create an outer world expression that matches that. And I think that's where the disconnect in our society is that, you go to work. I've heard this with many of my clients. I'm one person at work and then I'm a different person at home. And I'm like, ooh, that's really hard. That's really hard on everyone, actually. And
yes.
so I'm so inspired by what you just, introduced us with. And I am super interested in, how did you ever come to where you're at now? Like, what was your journey that unfolded this process for you and this realization?
Yeah, well, absolutely. As you ladies have been describing, I think, Maren, this is probably why we connected so much when we met at that event, was that, I've been conditioned all my life, right? You hear these messages of what we should be doing, how we should be showing up, how we should be measuring success. And so I joke that I'm a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser. I was the one who got the straight A's. I went to college, graduate school, got the quote unquote good job, earning 6 figures. And I realized I was missing 3 out of my oldest daughter's first 4 birthdays because of business travel. And even when I was home, I wasn't fully home because I was thinking about, I need to get online later. I need to be doing this. And then when I'm at work, I felt like I was missing out on my kids. And it's this no-win situation where you feel like you're not good enough in all the places, right? You feel like you're not good enough at work because, yes, while that was a career, I, was climbing the ladder, doing the things. But I felt like I couldn't fully devote to that. And with my family, I was being taken away. And so I felt like I couldn't show up as the mama that I wanted to be. And even in my marriage, right, trying to juggle all the things. And really, that's my vision with this company, is that we change the culture of work in the United States here, where people are able to really have that flexibility to be lit up and to have these opportunities. And so, I was in corporate America for about 15 years, successful career, again, kind of working my way up. And I just felt like something was missing. That career served me very well early on. And I just realized, like, I started dreading Mondays a little bit. I felt like I was showing up, right? And I didn't feel like I was contributing to something bigger than myself. And so I was kind of looking for what that next step was. And I think a lot of women maybe get stuck in, we don't know where to go. You can't just leave. You need to have something else to go into, right? And so a friend of mine from graduate school invited me to go drink some wine and shop. And I had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old at the time. I said, yes, mama needs a night out. I am definitely there. And ladies, we showed up at this woman's house and I looked at my friend and I said, is this one of those parties? Like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we at someone's home to like shop? And she's like, no, this is totally different. You're going to love it. There's a mission. I'm like, I wanted to leave. We joke to this day, it's a great grow because I probably would have left. I wasn't like a party person in that way. And that's where I met one of our founders, Kara, and she just talked about starting this company. She and her 2 best friends traveled the world. They saw extreme poverty up close. They knew that this was not okay. And even though, this is what I love, ladies, even though they had 0 experience in international business or direct sales or any of the things, they're like, we need to do something and we need to do it now because mama should not have to choose which child eats for the day. And I just connected with her so deeply. We were talking about things that were happening in the world, how we're bombarded by all these negative messages. There was a lot of political trauma at the time and just a lot of stuff that was negativity. And I just saw the source of inspiration and hope and an opportunity to create something that was so beautiful and to plug into something that was really meaningful and made a difference in the world. And so I started my Threads Worldwide business 3 years ago with 0 intent of going full time, right? Like this was not ever going to be the plan. I just thought if I could make a couple sales to create work for women, amazing. If I can, my husband, we support some family back in Kenya. And so I thought if we could send some money back home, great with those earnings. And what I found was that I fell in love with the work. I fell in love with the heart-centered women in the States who do this and the community that we were building. I fell in love with our partners via Zoom calls during COVID. Here's me, woe is me. Oh, I have to stay in my house during, COVID. And these women are like in the red light district, like we don't know where our next meal is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just perspective. And I fell in love with the pieces, as you mentioned, Stephanie. Our pieces, our products are high quality and stunning. And I just started thinking like, maybe I could do this more. Maybe this isn't just like a 1 event a month kind of thing. Maybe this is something that I can turn into a career, and we're so small. I could be a leader in this company. I could grow this company to what we know is possible. And that's where we're at now. So 1 year ago, I said goodbye to corporate America.
Wow.
Wow.
Good for
Yeah,
you.
That's a huge step, right?
Yeah, that's
So
talking right out of your comfort. Yeah.
I do want to so for you, I know for some people, they need to actually take the step and then do something else. So you said, it's like, what I heard from you is it was important for you to have something in place before you actually stepped out of corporate America. And I know that there's that both and sometimes it is important to have that security and know I have something, especially you've got what, 4 children?
Two girls.
Two girls. Okay.
4-year-old now, but yes, littles. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that you now have time and space and energy to actually make family a priority. And it's doing something that, as you said before, fills your cup. It's like it's meaningful.
Erin, it's a game changer. I'll tell you, my kids, I can show up. I'm the parent mom now. I go to the field trips to the zoo. I'm the one who walks them to school every day. And the beauty of having, my then 3-year-old pick up dandelions along the way to like hand them to me and just being still and fully present. And even my husband, the first week I left my career, he had said, you're not grumpy anymore. Like I didn't realize I had become grumpy because I was going through the motions, but not fully living what we know is our potential. And I've been able to travel the world to meet our partners in Guatemala. And my husband's been able to come along on that journey and actually see the impact we're making. And so it's been a life changer for me leaving full time. The other women on my team have left corporate America as well, but also for the women who are part-time, just to feel like they're part of something that lights them up, that has meaning, that really they can see the impact that they're having. And we're traveling to Bolivia next April to meet women who can lead the sex trade. Marta in particular is a woman, when we hit our year-end goals, she'll be able to stop working part-time with Threads and part-time in the brothels and go full-time with dignified work. So we're excited.
That's such a celebration.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that it's a celebration on all levels of like, you get to celebrate because you get time with your family. And it's a celebration for Marta because now Marta's going to get time with her family and not have to do, like you said, undignified work, do something where it feels like she's making a difference. And yeah, it's just the win-win. What I look at for myself is where are there more places in my life where I can help be a part of creating a win-win or even a win-win-win, which is instead of, Stephanie, you mentioned it earlier when you were saying it's not, there's that place where we're sacrificing the inner for the outer or the outer for the inner. It neither one, it's like, so earlier in one of our other podcasts, Stephanie had brought up the fact that it's like the inhale and the exhale. You want to talk about that? How one is not
Yeah,
more
sure.
valuable?
For a lot of times we think of our breath, right? Inhaling and exhaling. And we think, well, that's why I do this little thing. I'm like, well, which one do you think's better? Inhale or exhale? Which is kind of a silly question because you can't have one without the other. Yet in our society, we make the outer so much more valuable. And, because we don't say, Erin, who are you? Like, what are you about? Like, we don't ask the inner deep questions. We say, oh, so Erin, what do you do for a living? We say, what do you do in the outer world? And that's only part of the inhale and the exhale. Like, it's only half of that breath. But to be a full integrated being, to be able to breathe well. And I'm using that as a metaphor, but to be able to live well, one of our, mantras that we have is like, doing what you love to do and the way you love to do it with the people you love most and the way that the world most needs it done. That is, an ikigai from a Japanese part is like, right livelihood. It's like, that's when the integration happens. So I love that and that you're doing that. And I have a question for you because I know I have a lot of wonderful women that I work with too, and they can be caught up in the corporate. And they're like, oh, but I can't leave because I've got a really good pension and I've got a really good insurance plan and the risk, and that's true if we think on a certain level. So I know there's a certain level of thinking that you had to shift from leaving your corporate to more the internal and that trust and that absolute reliance on this vision that Threads Worldwide has. Can you walk us through a little bit of your internal process of what you went through to be able to make that shift? Like, what was that for you?
Absolutely, Stephanie. And I love that you highlighted that it's a journey because I think sometimes externally we can look at people who are successful and living their best lives and be like, wow, why am I not there? Why can't I do that? And the truth is because you're being processed, right? Everything that's happening to you in life is happening for a reason. So thank you for highlighting that. And it was absolutely a journey for me, especially, I zero sales experience, direct sales. And as the first person who left to go full time with Threads, I was literally paving the way. There was no example ahead of me at the company if this is like what you do. So it was definitely a leap, let's say. And I think that as again, recovering perfectionist people pleaser, that's a big thing to handle. And so for me, it was about balance. It was about, I'm not going to quit my job tomorrow, right? It was about looking at my gains over time. So I was in this company for 3 years, but I only left 1 year ago. So over 2 years, I saw success despite a pandemic. I saw a team growing. I saw great sales. I saw the potential. I built great friendships and relationships with our founders. Like I'm literally flying out next month to talk about our future vision and this collaboration. So I believed in the leadership. I saw where we were going and I was excited and lit up about what we were doing. And while I was doing that and all of this inward work, listening to podcasts, reading, going to some different workshops and conferences to work inward, like you and Stephanie both talk about, that's such an important process. And then I crunched some numbers too. I figured, what is our budget like? What do we need to make to survive? What does that look like? What is the impact on our family? Because it wasn't a journey myself. I had to get my husband on board, and he was used to, 6-figure salary. Now I'm like, okay, you want to go? He's like, you want to go sell jewelry now? Like what? What's happening?
Yeah, that would be a reality check, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It was a reality check. And ladies, I have to tell you, I am so blessed to marry the man that I do because he's my best friend in life. And I just, in general, he's so supportive about everything. And so for him, it was like, he does a job he loves. And so I've supported him throughout his career. And he was like, well, yeah, it makes sense. It's your turn. So the combination of crunching the numbers, seeing what works, making sure my spouse was on board with that game plan. I gave myself a 6-month window. I said, hey, I want to stack up, financial runway, right? Continue to build that savings that we had in place. And then also just plan moving forward, really pour into my business and really develop myself. And even since the past year, I would say the transformation I have made as a person, not just from a business standpoint, but all successful business people talk about, it's kind of who you become. And I absolutely found that. So now I have a morning routine where I do visualizations, affirmations, like all of these things that were never part of who I was before. And I've really evolved in my understanding of myself, my understanding of the world, all of those things. And so daily pouring into myself with podcasts and books and just really growing. And of course, trying and failing too, right? So you try something and it doesn't work. Okay, then you pivot and you try something else, and really being open.
I was going to say, so you had to let go of your perfectionism,
Oh,
that
girl.
whole part, right? And that people pleasing, like that's the internal process. That's hard work.
It's
And
also a
it's
process.
and it's a process. Yeah.
You're no in sales. Like that's just a reality. And I don't think I realized how hard that would be for me to one, put myself out there for the ask, because that was one of the things I struggled with in the beginning was how do I even ask, right? And then hearing no, because of course not 100% of people are going to buy or join your team or whatever. And so just becoming okay with the no and understanding that that is part of the process was a lot of work. And now, still, I think, everyone still has daily struggles. It's not like you get someplace where you've arrived. But I can tell you where I'm at now is a very different place than where I was a year ago. And I see that future and continued evolution and work too.
I just want to highlight one of the things that you said about becoming. Like you have become someone totally different than you were in the corporate.
Yeah.
And I would say your soul was probably more attracted to the becoming than the actual doing, even though the outer doing of taking workshops and trainings, and those are all really great things, but you were committed to becoming a different person. And
Absolutely.
that is the hardest internal thing, but yet it is the biggest thing for success. Instead of doing, like I got, because I can hear it. I can hear with people, they'll say, well, that's because she had a really supportive husband and she already had a 6-figure job. So she probably had savings. And that's
Right.
like, our compensatory self that wants to stay the same will justify why you had it and made it work and why they can't. And I hear that in myself too, because I'm like, well, I don't have kids and I don't have a husband. And oh, well, I couldn't do that. But we have to challenge that. And it's like, well, who do I want to become in order to do that? And that is the internal journey and the internal process that you
Absolutely.
need.
Absolutely. And yeah, it is risk. And yeah, it is a leap. And everyone's circumstances are different. And everyone's challenges are different. But I think that there is so much that I've done. And I think that there are a couple of key lessons, and maybe this is helpful for your listeners, of just one, understanding that you are in charge of your life, right? So yes, it's easy to make excuses. Someone else can do something else. But the truth is you are empowered. It's not these circumstances. It's not these people around you or whatever is happening. You are in charge. And you can decide, I'm going to have no excuses. And that's a journey, right? To accept accountability, to accept you are where you're at for the things that you didn't do maybe, or the things that you did do, right? And so just becoming aware of that power. And
I
while that
love that you say that, and again, bringing up this might be our journey podcast, that it's a journey, because I think that we hear that catchphrase of like, your life is yours, you're in charge, and we all go, yeah. Like, what does that mean though? Like, when you really sit down and take charge of your life and have to go through all the things that you went, like, well, that means I need to talk to my husband, that means I need to do this, I need, like, all of those external things. And then what Stephanie was just talking about, the internal, to that little itty bitty shitty committee that comes up and starts telling us things about ourselves, like, you can't do that, what were you thinking, get up every morning and meditate, what? He was like, and that's the becoming part. And so, like, pointing out again that that's a journey. It doesn't just happen. It's not, oh, I want that and it happens. It's, oh, I want that, and now everything that is not yet, that is like, in order for me to become the person that has that thing, I have to go through everything that is not yet that, which means all the obstacles that come up between me and that thing that I want, or that position that I want, or that, like, getting away from corporate that I want.
Yeah, you got to challenge that itty bitty shitty committee for sure and say, is that really true? And if I'm feeling I'm not good enough or that I'm going to fail, well, who do I need to become so that I don't, and that I am good enough? And so what would I need to believe? How would I need to think differently? How would I need to speak differently? How would I need to hold my body differently? And it's not the fake it till you make it. It is a practice. And what I always say, there's nothing to fix. It's
Mhm.
actually simply letting go. It's like letting go of that thought and being in the unknown, which you were totally in the unknown. And like, excuse me, not even having a role model to like in the company to go, is there someone that can mentor me? No, there's not. Sorry. Well, who can? Well, my inner guidance inside can. My
Yeah.
true self that knows that there's something that's touching my heart and soul with this as a mother, as a woman, that I do not want to see a child not be fed or left out or abandoned or neglected because of some scarcity mentality. It's like we got to change this. And this is the feminine, the time of the feminine to rise. And when I mean that, it's not about women becoming dominant in the external world. It's about the feminine in all of us, men and women, that can listen and trust the unknown and surrender and go within and source that love and that deep well of higher potential that's all been within us. So
Absolutely. And I love everything that you ladies have been saying. And I think it's a combination for me too of, this manifestation, right? Creating, having a vision, showing up for yourself, surrendering, doing those things, and being action and being disciplined. Do I like waking up at 5 in the morning? No, I don't. Right? It's not fun. I want to be in my bed cozy and warm, especially as the weather changes and it's cold outside and dark and whatever. But I have a vision of my life and who I want to become and what I want to achieve. And so it is a matter of getting clarity around who you want to become and what you want to create or how you want to serve in this world, and showing up for that and showing up for a way that feels right internally. Because I know it. Those mornings when I get up this morning, I did my miracle morning, I set an intention, I did all the things. I know I'm going to have a great day. Those days when I sleep in and I'm just running around with the kids, getting ready for school, like just in this chaos, it just doesn't feel good. And so it's knowing where you're going, being disciplined to get there, and breaking through fear, like you said. I've had to build a lot of my fear muscle, right? So like just kind of building my brave is kind of what I call it, because it's those little challenges. When you become more comfortable being uncomfortable, then you're willing to go outside of your comfort zone, right? And so like I would intentionally start doing things that scare me, because I actually a year ago was a very scared person for change. I didn't like change. I didn't like kind of all those things. And I knew that needed to, that's something I needed to work on if I wanted to achieve business success and really my dreams. And so, doing things like water skiing when I was scared, or a high ropes course with my kids, or whatever, and as silly as these things sound and how unrelated they might seem, it's actually all the same, because once you start taking those risks, they teach you that, like, oh my gosh, I'm scared, oh crap. And then you do it and you realize I didn't die. Like, I can do the next thing, right? You're still alive, you're still here. You can take on that next thing, whatever that looks like. And what's beautiful about that is I've actually been able to share that with my children. So I'm so blessed to be going through this journey, because now I don't just say you can be what you want. I show them. I show up in this way, and then I teach them. I have a little perfectionist. My 7-year-old oldest one she doesn't like to make mistakes. She doesn't like to be wrong. And we do these things together. And I show her and tell her about experiences mommy's had where I've tried and failed, or we do these things that are scary together. And we just say, and they start doing it. They start doing these affirmations in the morning in the mirror. And my little 3-year-old was like, I'm independent. I'm brave. I can do it. And when she was failing, climbing up this, obstacle course, she kept falling and falling and falling. You could tell the frustration was building. And she stood up and she did her little Wonder Woman pose. And she said, I believe. And she got up that thing. And I was so proud of her in that moment. And that's what we create in our world. It's not just inner transformation. It's how that impacts our families, our communities, and the world. Like, what if we all showed up as our best selves? What if we became that best version and then shared that?
Imagine how that ripple effect, like you are being that example of a role model that you're wanting for your children. It's so beautiful. And we forget that. We think, how do I, because this is where the mindset goes. How do I fix my child? How do I fix the system? How do I change outwardly? We're always pointing the finger outside ourselves instead of going, who do I need to become?
Yes.
Because I am the one that is the closest to them. And if I'm living and walking my best life, it literally empowers them to do the same.
Yes. because they don't watch your action. They don't listen to your words necessarily. They look at your actions. And when you're showing up and doing the thing, like that's what they're noticing. And when you're encouraging them to, and I'll say it out loud to them, my daughter was riding a little tricycle and she was like struggling up this hill. I said, believe in yourself, and push hard. And we got to like build in, we have all these limiting beliefs in our life that start from childhood and beyond. And so how do we send counter messages to our kids through our words and our actions, and helping to build their awareness and helping to them to build their belief in themselves and who they want to become,
And how do we do it from a place of love?
Yes.
Like love
Absolutely.
and kindness and gentleness. Like I'm looking at that, like, push through and pull and thing. There's a time and place for that. But I'm like, what if we could use another motivator? Like, I love what you're doing. It's like when it touches the heart, there's that love instead of anxiety. It's like, I get to do this. And what an opportunity. I'm in a place in a world where I have a roof over my head. I have fresh water. I don't have to walk miles and miles to get maybe a glass full of water that's not even clean, that's going to make me sick. Like, I am so blessed. And if we can remember that, the gratitude of that, like how rich it is in that we can be kind with ourselves and say, okay, there's that itty bitty shitty community, instead of like, get out, hit the road, which is what I used to do. It's like, I'm like, oh, fascinating creation. What's it really needing? It's obviously having a harshness. And if I can do that with more love and kindness and embody that, even that is a kinder, more beautiful way, and yet still empowering.
I think the levels of consciousness, of the more conscious we become about ourselves, and we can see that, oh, my child or my partner or the person at work is reflecting that back to me, and it's not about them at all, it's about me. And then I address myself with the love and the compassion, and I become more conscious of my own actions and how then I can interact with them differently. And I show up as a different person, which then empowers them to do the same, and I create an upward spiral instead of a downward spiral.
Yes. I love that, Maren. And it's really that intentionality. And I think that that's what I suffered from in the longest time, right? Is kind of lacking intentionality in life. We can oftentimes go in the default mode. I think I read somewhere where it's like, I don't know, 90% of your actions are just you're just trained, right? You kind of wake up in the
Autopilot.
morning, roll out of bed, you're autopilot, brushing your teeth, you make your coffee, you do your things. And what I've learned in this journey is the power of intention, obviously in my business, but the application to life has been game changer, and you can apply it to anything as big as like dreams, right? So one powerful activity we did in Guatemala is we did a dream circle with our artisan partners. So we walked barefoot in the woods, we sat around, we did a meditation, we drew out our dreams, and we shared them, because collective dreams are unstoppable. So I brought that back to the States and led a Girl Scout troop in one of a dream circle where the kids actually talked about like who they want to become, what they want to do. And my daughter was a part of that. She was a guest for that day, but she wanted to join the Girl Scouts because of that. But just, that we have this intention around something as big as our dreams, right? What do we want to create? And something as small as like meal planning or our summer. So I got my kids and husband around the kitchen table and I said, let's draw out the foods. Let's close our eyes, think about all the amazing foods that we love to eat. I have like a little picky eater right now. And what are the things that we love to eat? What can we fill our bodies with? And we'll just be so happy. That would be so amazing. And we drew out all the foods that we love, because I hate meal planning. I hate cooking. It's just like, I'm trying to be intentional and like bring joy to things in all areas of life. And then we went around the table and my little 4-year-old sharing how she loves broccoli and she loves, cupcakes and all these things. And we all kind of went around, and then we literally picked out, we made a meal plan for the week. Okay, well, Monday, we're going to eat this, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And something as simple as meal planning became exciting, because then we went on a grocery trip and she's like, oh, we need the broccoli, Mama. And she goes and she picks it out. And we need the box of cupcake mix because we're going to make cupcakes later this week. And so it changes everything versus had I just gone through my list as a mama, taken on all the things, right? Meal plan myself, grocery shop myself, cook the meal myself. Something as simple as adding a couple minutes of thought can add joy to your family and experiences and bonds. And now they're excited about like meal planning, right? Like, I'm still not excited, but it's better, right, than what it used to be.
I just absolutely love that. And how many places we could do something like that, where we shift from, I have to take this all on and it's my responsibility, to how could I engage the people around me, make it more interesting and more fun for myself, teach them a little bit about what I'm doing, and maybe find that they have a strength in something that I kept thinking, oh, I need to do that. And they're like, oh, I want to go get the broccoli. Can I do that? And you're like, hell yes. Right. So now we've enrolled our partners
Yes.
because of the intention and sharing that and the sharing. And I think that one of my passions is community, and I'm working on helping to build an online community that's a safe space for people who are like us, who are, shifting to a more intentional way of being. And I see that those activities, stuff like you just did, you created a community within your family in a
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
And it's a game changer, Maren, for everything, right? For the way that we experience our lives, for the way your kids, it starts shaping how they're thinking about their lives. And my husband, bless his heart, he like is not a big fan of intentionality and all these things, but now he's getting on board because he sees this. He's like, oh yeah, we can make it fun for our kids, or we can do these things. And, you know,
Yeah.
studying for a
And
math
he's
home.
getting the witness. He's getting the
Yeah.
witness of what you're doing internally. And now
Yeah.
he's on board. Yeah.
Yes. And then they're sharing that, right? So now my kids will start bringing that into their families or into their friends. And like just these little moments, I think are really important for our everyday lives to live the best life that we can, but also to create and spread more intentionality in the world. Because I think because of so much has been gone into default mode, there is that lack of pause, right? We always feel like we're hurrying, we're doing, we're always moving, but not really thinking about, are we doing this for a reason, and why should we be doing this, and what we're putting our energy into. And so I think there's a lot of power in just kind of spreading just more intentionality and pause just in general to make sure that we have the right priorities, that we're spending our time in the right places, that we're showing up how we want to show up, and really making the most, because life is pretty short, you know.
It is. It is. And I'm so excited that our listeners got to know a little bit about you, because and understand why I felt so connected to you. Like, oh, she's one of us. I feel like we could talk to you all day, and unfortunately we don't have all day. So I want to bring this back around to Threads worldwide and the things that you're doing. I know you and I had originally talked about, one of the ways that you sell and that you get people involved and that you help those that need some support, is through these parties. And I was like, could we do an online one? Because we've got listeners from all over the world. So I think that you have something planned. Could you share a little bit about, like, what if people wanted to get involved, what's their next steps?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I invite anyone to reach out to me personally. Erin Attere, so ErinAttere at Threads, THREADSWW.com. Would love to hear from you, because there's many different ways people get involved. We're looking honestly for people to travel with us to Bolivia. If you want to become part of this work and join us, I would love to. I've got team members who go full time like me, and also women who have one gathering a month just because they want to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves and travel and make an impact in the world. Hosting a gathering is a really powerful experience too. So at that same email address, would love to talk to you about how you can bring your friends together. And we have fun in these gatherings. These aren't a typical, let me tell you about products. I mean, we talk about stories of our artisan partners, is where we began. My last gathering last week, on Wednesday, we went around the circle and thought about who is someone we disconnected with in life and we want to really kind of pour into. Who is something that we can reach out to? Like, there's intentionality around even our gatherings, because obviously we want to make an impact globally, but locally, how can we support each other and create that community, create those tribes so people feel seen and connected and loved? And then obviously you get free jewelry as a thank you. I think I sent my last host $400 in free jewelry. And the benefits are pretty great. We are very serious about thanking people for helping us to make an impact. And then shopping, of course, too, right? So maybe hosting or, adding, joining us in this work aren't your thing, but shopping is an amazing way to give back. And I'd love to gift your listeners a coupon code. Erin, ERIN, will save 15% off through next Friday. And really the intent there is that people just go on the website and learn about the stories. You click on our artisan partners and they can learn about the different impact and also see the different products. We have jewelry, as I mentioned, we expand into home good collection as well. And we also have holiday gifts like, fair trade coffee or hand woven blankets, hand woven napkins and table runners, and just really beautiful pieces that every time you look at your table, you can have a reminder of what you're creating. You're gathering around your table, but really you're creating something beautiful around the world too. So yeah, many ways to get involved. Please email me or check out the website, threadsworldwide.com/Erin Attere to check out what we've got to offer. Holidays are a great time to give back, so why not make a difference?
As I was listening, that's what I was thinking about is as we're going into this holiday season of shopping and it's like, what is the deeper intention behind the holidays? And as consumers, and I love Lynn Twist says we used to be called citizens and now we're called consumers, which I think is very telling in and of itself. So if we think of ourselves as citizens of the world again, instead of as consumers, what would that shift in us during this season of buy, 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 buy? Maybe it would be around what am I buying and
Yes.
why? And could I buy something that has an impact, like
Yeah.
from Threads Worldwide or other organizations like that? One of the things that my mom and I did many years ago is we actually stopped buying stuff and we started donating to places for somebody. So maybe it's a donation to Threads or to, there's so many different things that we can do. And so I do encourage our listeners to think about that, of this conversation of journey and intentionality that we've had today. How would that wrap up as you go into your holiday season this year?
Absolutely, Maren. And I think, during COVID, I learned the power of physically wearing something that reminds you that you're proud of, right? And so we have these bracelets that say gratitude or grateful, for instance, or loved or courage. Like, what is a gift that you can give someone that they can look down at and really be reminded? Or like, what's something that you can give them that goes beyond just a consumable product? And I love your encouragement to shop things that are fair trade, right? So I'll be honest, I didn't know much about fair trade before joining Threads Worldwide. And I think if people knew what their dollar was voting for, what the world they were creating supported things like child labor or unsafe working conditions, or all of these things that feel kind of yucky, but we don't really know about necessarily. That the goal is that Threads doesn't have to be this unique fair trade company, but really that all businesses can be fair trade, right? Like, why would we not pay a workable living wage to people so that they can really thrive and survive in their communities? And I guess lastly, with Giving Tuesday around the corner too, Threads, I'm so proud to announce that we've started doing custom pieces too. So we are partnering with nonprofits, we're partnering with schools to make an impact and help them in their fundraising. So I'm partnering with the Rotary Club now, and they're going to be moving forward their mission with their bracelet that they selected, and the colors and in the word imagine is what they're putting on their bracelet. And so gifting that to people and being able to really create that impact and life-changing work. Again, would love any listeners to reach out to me to set up that custom fundraising program, because it's a win-win-win in all the ways.
I love that. Great ideas. Great support.
Yeah.
So as a reminder to our listeners, all the links are in the show notes. So if you missed the spelling of Erin's name or you don't know, just go to our show notes. We've got it all there. Plus, we'll make sure that we have links that we put into our Facebook group and our LinkedIn group. And with that, I would love to hear just one last thing of what is it that you do in your life, Erin, that helps you to stay in that intentionality every day?
Yeah. We've touched on this topic a little bit, Maren, but I think honestly, beginning every day with gratitude. I literally make a list of things that I am so grateful for, and I will write that down, and just pausing and thinking through, and just really taking a minute to think through how truly appreciative I am of that person in my life or that thing in my life. Because the thing is, you don't always have to be wanting more and wanting to achieve more and get all things more from external, because we already have so much. We just need to recognize where we're at and how much we have to be grateful for already. And I think that is a fantastic way to actually begin and end your day, because your brain kind of keeps working while you're sleeping and all that good stuff. And so really closing your day with gratitude, I think, is a really important practice as well.
I love that. Thank you so much, Erin. This has just
Thank
been
you.
extraordinary. Thank you.
It has
Thank you,
been.
ladies. What a gift. I love what you are creating in your world. Please keep encouraging women to really go within, right? We have so much inner power that we just need to unleash. And so thank you for encouraging that and creating that space. An honor to be with you today.
As one of our listeners, please feel free to share the podcast with one of your friends, and visit us on our Facebook page or our LinkedIn page. Both of them you'll find at Soulful Leaders, or on our website, thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com. See you next week.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader Podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
And Maren Oslack. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.